Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure that everyone is either settling down for the evening or preparing to start their week. So I'll try not to take too much time. I would like to continue the conversation that I started earlier last week on wellness. Today, however, I would like to focus on emotional wellness. I'm very passionate about this subject because I have had to actually put a lot of these actions into play dealing with some very negative experience that I had in my life. And if you're like me, if you're a human like me, you've had those moments when you go through either very traumatic experience, loss of a loved one or, loss of a job. It can be any kind of loss or disappointment. It can be just something that puts you in a dark place that makes you maybe angry or bitter or just not the best person that you can be, and you look at yourself in that space, and you realize that you have become someone that you perhaps don't like, but it's never because you intentionally wanted to be that particular person. It's sometimes life happens and things happen to us, and it puts us in very bad situations. But we have to work through those negative emotions to be at a good place. So today, I really want to begin by defining what emotions are. So, according to Oxford Dictionary, um, emotion is a strong feeling deriving from one's circumstances or your mood or relationship with others. It can also be a response to significant internal or external event, which I've given you an example of my experience. Emotions can also be intense feelings that are derived, that are directed at someone or something. So, there are many definitions. Those are just three that I could put my finger on right away as we explore what this is. And emotions can they're actually a pretty positive thing, whether they're negative or positive. It's actually a way that life is kind of letting us know that, hey, we need to pay attention to something. It could be that life is letting us know that we need to pay attention to something good that's happening, or it's something negative that's happening that we need to change or correct. So it's emotions. When we're going through some emotions, whether it's happiness or sadness, it's there for a reason. I think it's just a gift. It's a gift that God gave us to help us check ourselves, to either continue the celebration of goodness, or maybe change the direction of the negative energy or negative emotions that we're experiencing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, but I want to focus on negative emotions because that is what is affecting us quite a bit right now. Negative emotions can create a lot of issues in our health, in our body. It can affect us all round. It can affect our physical being. It can affect our spiritual being. It can affect our finances. It just can affect every area of our life and interferes with our how we are created to be healthy individuals, healthy human beings. So one of the things that I know for sure that when we have negative emotions, when we carry negative emotions, we can our bodies can be put in such a stressful mode that it affects the balance of our hormones. And when that happens, then you lack sleep, you break out, you you don't enjoy company of other people. It's just not a good place to be. And it creates chronic illnesses as well. You people have been known to have cancer from negative emotions. There have been studies that sometimes cancer can connect to us not learning how to forgive. I'm not saying that's the absolute. I'm just saying one of the studies have shown that unforgiveness can bring us to a place where we develop some cancers. And other diseases, not just cancer, stomach illnesses, mental illnesses, a lot of things, a lot of negative emotions can affect our health. So I'm just giving examples, but I'm sure there are others. So we really have to learn how to manage these negative emotions to help us deal with the things that are happening in our lives today. And we also have to check ourselves. So here's how I see it. When you're experiencing negative emotions, right? We really have to ask ourselves so many questions. We really have to ask ourselves that this feeling or this emotion that I'm experiencing right now, where is it coming from? Where is this feeling coming from? Why do I have this feeling? And I'm saying that not to just say it. I'm saying that to really, when we're going through those negative emotions, when we have to sit back, maybe take a pen and paper and say, okay, I feel not too good right now. And what is really causing this really deep negative experience that I'm feeling, be it anger, be it jealousy, be it envy, be it just whatever, unforgiveness, whatever negative emotion that you're feeling. What is this? What is the cause? Where is it coming from? So you have to identify where that's coming from. Because if you don't take time to identify it, then your emotions can mislead you. It can mislead you. You're thinking one thing and yet it's another, and then you don't get to the bottom of it to resolve your problem. So you really have to identify the problem, and you have to be self-aware. Be self-aware when you have this, when you're asking yourself that question. What are some of the things that you've experienced recently, or what environment have you put yourself in? What are the triggers? So I would identify the problem, what the source of the negative emotion, and then I'd ask myself, what has caused me to have this negative emotion at this particular time? You know, what has caused me to have this negative emotion at this time? Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? And how can I stop myself from feeling the way that I'm feeling? So, ask yourself all those questions as you figure out, where the source of where your negative emotions are coming from. And you also have to understand why we have to deal with these negative emotions for many reasons, right? Because our negative emotions can be very unreliable. We can think that we know and we know, but what we're feeling may not necessarily be what we need to deal with. I think I mentioned that in just a few minutes ago. So let's say, for example, that you're feeling kind of moody, and somebody talks to you and you snap at them, and then you start examining yourself and you realize that, okay, I'm snapping at this person because I'm tired or I'm hungry, but really the way that I'm responding to maybe the conversation that this person is having with me is not the way I'm supposed to respond to it. So you may give an incorrect response because you're tired, and because you just need some sleep, and so you have to really, when those things happen, because sometimes the things that we say can be damaging to others when we have negative emotions. And sleep and tiredness are not the worst negative emotions that can be out there. You could be angry about something or about a situation, and you want to check yourself in the way that you respond, or how you relate to others when you're in that negative mood, or in a negative emotion. And you also have to understand that those negative emotions can be very manipulating. Sometimes, we feel some sort of void because we've been hurt, or we want to make ourselves feel good, so we go on a spending spree. We shop when we don't need to shop, and many of us have been out there where you just want to shop because it makes you feel good. But that's that emotion manipulating you. You really are not supposed to be there spending money. Sometimes you're spending money that you don't have just so you can feel better. And there you go. That negative emotion is creating financial problems in your life. And that is not healthy. So watch those negative emotions also that make you do things, manipulate you to do things that you don't need to do. Another good example is, let's say there's a young lady or a young man who's been hurt, and because they've been hurt, they're looking for love at the wrong places. And they get in those situations where they continue to get hurt over and over again because they're trying to perhaps make somebody else feel, help them, make someone else make them feel good, but that's not really, they're trying to get someone else to make them feel good, but they haven't worked on themselves to recognize that there is a problem here. I need to identify where this is coming from, and I need to fix this problem, because otherwise I'll continue being putting myself in a place where my emotions are manipulating me, therefore allowing others to manipulate me, because I am being vulnerable to my negative emotion. I'm being vulnerable to people around me because of my negative emotion. So we want to be very careful with that negative negative emotions that would get us in a place where feelings manipulators or others around us manipulators, because of that negative energy that makes us weak in that place at that moment. We also want to be sure that we cautious about hindering ourselves from being successful because of our emotions. So, we talk about EQs or the IQ all the time. So we always say that, oh, so and so has a high IQ, therefore they're successful, or so and so is intelligent, therefore they're successful. But intelligence encompasses a lot. There's also social intelligence, emotional intelligence. Um, and if we don't have emotional intelligence, and we have just a high IQ, if we don't have social intelligence, then we can't be successful, because we have to be able to learn how to relate to people around us. We have to be at a place where we can connect to people by feeling their emotions as well, and removing ourselves from always just focusing on our negative emotions and responding to things based on our negative emotions. When you have social intelligence or emotional intelligence, then you're able to relate to others at a higher level. You're able to take a step back when somebody is angry and respond in a positive way, or you're able to manage your own emotions. That's very important. Manage your own emotions, your own negative emotions, and respond to things differently. You employ your mind um, when you're responding to things. You 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 put your emotions aside and use common sense in how you respond to things around you. We all know people who are very highly intelligent, and they've made some mistakes that they have to live with for the rest of their lives. Somebody may be working in a financial institution, and they make a stupid emotional decision, and find themselves in a place where they go to prison, for instance, or somebody maybe uh, has makes a bad decision in relating to a female or a male, and contracts diseases from there, or just things happen that are not healthy. And when these things happen, we also have to learn to forgive ourselves too, because sometimes in the process of healing we also make mistakes. But we have to be very clear on identifying the source of our emotions and the source of our negative emotions that drive us to these places that are unhealthy. So managing those emotions, again, we need to identify those emotions, what those emotions are. We need to challenge those emotions. Once you identify them and you really, really, really identify what they are, then it's time to challenge those emotions. Then how do you challenge those emotions? How do you challenge the negative emotions that you're experiencing once you know what they are? You ask yourself, what's really the real reason why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling? What is the reason? What's the real reason why I'm feeling what I'm feeling? And is this what I'm feeling? Is it true? Is this negative? What negative feeling that I have? Is it true? Is it true that whatever negative emotion you have, is it true that you angry, or something else caused that anger, and whatever caused that anger, is it true? That's the point I'm trying to bring across. And then is what I'm feeling helping, or is it helping me, or is it hurting me? Is it helping you grow? That negative feeling, is it helping you become a better person? And I always I always ask myself this question a lot: that how is this adding value to who Lydia is. Since Lydia is trying to be her authentic self, I'm trying to be the best person that I can be every day for myself and for people around me. How is this feeling contributing towards my growth? And you have to be very, very intentional with these things, because when you're not intentional, then it becomes it doesn't become natural. Then you're not able to heal from what you're dealing with. And then the other another point that I want to make to manage those negative emotions is, besides identifying it, challenging those emotions, the next one is changing the emotions, changing those negative feelings. How do you change those negative emotions when you're dealing with them, when they keep running through your head and your mind? How do you change those negative emotions? uh, some of the emotions that we have really must be changed, because they come if we focus on them too much, they can really, really affect our health. And we've already talked about how that can cause chronic illnesses. It can affect how our brain functions. It can affect our hormones. It can just create an imbalance of our lives overall. It can affect our finances. So we really need to manage change. We need to be intentional with working hard to change those negative emotions. And how do you change them? There's so many ways that we can change your negative emotions, and I'll get back to that in just a minute. But I also want to talk about using those negative emotions for a positive thing. That's okay. That's one way that we can change them. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. This is just one way that we can change those negative emotions by using it for good. Sometimes the things that bring us the most pain or the most hurt are not bad for us. Sometimes those things come so that we could channel them in a positive way, change the way we do things, and become better people. Sometimes they come so that we can use the tools that we've learned to help ourselves and help others. And sometimes it can just be your purpose, that God called you to be a sacrificial lamb for whatever reason, because He trusts that you can do what He created you to do. So He allows you to go through those challenges so that you can learn the tools that you need to learn to be able to teach some things that you're supposed to teach to others, or be be a gift, or be should I call it, just be able to help others. Okay. So all right, so we talked about that. Then we talk about, let's tame our wild emotions. How do we tame our wild emotions? We tame them by, if you are a Christian like me, you tame them by surrendering your will to God. You tame them by being intentional with changing how you do things. You tame them by learning how to just quit the negative and focus on the positive in your life. You tame them by prayer. You tame them by filling your mind the right things. You tame them by managing your mouth. Oh, God help us. You tame them by managing your mouth. So that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we have in life is to manage our mouths. And we have to learn how to tame our mouths. And then we tame them by building coping strategies that help us to be better people. So earlier I mentioned that I'll talk a little bit more about things that we can do to change that negative feeling or negative emotion beyond the other ones that I've talked about. And I found some really good tools here, some really good suggestions that I really believe can help us. One that I really, really like is finding a social support system. Um, Finding a network of friends who will allow you to be yourself, will allow you to speak your truth to them without judging you or criticizing you. And while you are around those friends, also learn to not be too hard on yourself. Don't be too judgmental or too critical of yourself, because then it can blind you to seeing the good changes in you as you work towards becoming a better person. And then I also think that we also have to practice mindfulness. We have to practice physiological and behavioral changes. Like we have to ask ourselves, what are some of the things that I can do to improve my situation? Maybe exercise like we talked about yesterday, some relaxation, maybe talking to yourself, talking positively to yourself, affirmations, maybe journaling, visualizing your future in a positive way, challenging yourself to really to imagine a positive future for yourself, and just being grateful. Being grateful, saying thank you to people in your life who've been good to you, people who've been kind to you. Maybe writing a letter or going to visit with them, spending time with them, just saying thank you goes a long way. And I'll go back to prayer. As I always say, I am a Christian, and so I know that to me, my personal experience in my personal work has been that even that I cannot do anything unless I surrender it to God. When I've tried to do things on my own, that is, yes, it's my responsibility to do things on my own, but I have to seek the higher power to give me strength to implement things that I've learned, and also to change, to be a better person. Because when I understand that my life is supposed to be full of joy, my life is supposed to be full of peace, love, my life is supposed to be full of kindness and gentleness, and all the good things that come with the guidance of God, then I recognize that I can be a better person in the areas that I lack in. I pray and I hope that this has helped somebody in this journey of emotional healing. I pray that you can spend time identifying what is causing you to feel the way you do, and that you can be less judgmental towards yourself and towards others, that you find the right people, to a support system to help you, and people who can be honest with you, people you can trust, one or two friends that you can trust with your emotions, and that can tell you the truth about what you're dealing with without being critical. And if you happen to be that friend who has the privilege of being chosen by another friend to be uh, the one that checks them, so to say, on their negative emotions, be gentle with it, be kind. Because then, if you're not kind, then it becomes difficult for somebody to make a change. And maybe they're in your life because God has sent them your way so that you can help them to be better people. Just be conscious of that. And also remember that you have to challenge those emotions. You have to question them. Is this true? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Is it adding value to my life? And change those emotions and use them for good. Use the emotions for good. What are you doing with the negative experience you've had in your life? Are you helping other people? Are you helping yourself? Are you helping your family members with it? Have you learned something from it? And if you haven't learned something from it, brace yourself, because you may just experience it again until you learn the lesson that God wants you to learn from that experience. And if you feel in your heart that you actually have experienced a negative emotion, um, that you've dealt with for a long time and you have not been able to remove it, just beware. That's very toxic. Beware. Be intentional with eliminating that from your heart, from your mind, from your spirit. Seek the higher power for help. Ask God to help you, but also put these practices into action that will make a difference. Start by being grateful. Start by spending time in the Word. If you're a believer like me, the book of Psalms worked for me. The book of Psalms has all sorts of emotions. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's no emotion in this world that does not exist in the book of Psalms. No wonder David created such beautiful songs from the scripture. But I'm telling you, there are no emotions that do not exist in the book of Psalms. So when you're not sure if nothing else I've said makes sense to you, then just play the book of Psalms when you're driving to work, or when you're jogging, or when you do something that when you're doing something that where you can still listen to the word of God. Try doing that. Try doing that. And keep exercising, keep drinking your water, keep feeding your mind with good information, and keep saying no to negative emotions. Listen to only what is true. If there are people around you who feed you with negative emotion, by all means, it's okay to draw boundaries and stay away from those people, because you need to heal and you need to get better. I hope that you have a great week. Again, this is Lydia Tate at lydiatatespeaks.com. If you'd like to follow some of the things that I'm doing, check the website, lydiatatespeaks.com. Or you can also look at some of my YouTube videos, or follow us on social media. Presenting my book again to you. You can purchase it online at Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Feel free to reach out to me. You know where to find me. Have a good week. Thank you.